have a young man who just joined us this last year, as a matter of fact, and he did it a few months after he came out of prison. And he had spent like 6 years in prison. And I gotta tell you, my congregation just adores this young man. Even though he's struggling, he has problems with all sorts of different things, and confessed to us a problem here a couple months ago. He had been misleading his doctor as far as prescriptions and everything else like that. But he's just growing in grace so much. And I mean, literally my congregation just has all kind of adopted him as their foster son. And it's this wonderful transformative story that you only get in the church and in the church family. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing to me.
That's great. In our congregation, we have a couple of families probably that will think of transformation and salvation, but especially one couple, very young couple. It's going to be a year when they first came to the congregation, and since then they've been growing a lot. They got involved in the leadership ministry, in small groups. And I see a really strong transformation. And not just that, but his wife really testifies about the change that this man has changed. So it's a tremendous story of transformation.
So we have a young guy, likewise in our congregation. And he's been a member since he was a little boy, and got out of the faith and sort of backslid. And he started having some physical problems where his breathing and was very labored. And he also was going to the doctor to get a diagnosis, but the doctors couldn't really determine what was going on. It so happened that after a third or fourth trip to the doctor, they found out that he needed a new heart.
Wow.
Not only did he need a new heart, he also, it was determined, needed a new lung. And they gave him, here's the big part, they only gave him 6 months to live. And he was less than 30 years old. This all happened last year. It so happens that at the time that this was going on, we were in this prayer season in our church, and it was like 100-day prayers challenge to the congregation to pray straight for 100 days. So we were in the middle of all of that while he was going through his ordeal. And what happened was we first got a call that because he didn't have insurance, now his insurance was restored. So that was a good thing. But he still needed to have a lung transplant. He still needed to have a heart transplant. And we weren't really sure how that was going to go. But we kept praying through, and then we found out the lung specialist came in and said, well, look, you don't need a lung anymore. I don't know what happened, but something's happened. You don't need a lung anymore.
Man.
So we started celebrating and praising the Lord for that. And then we kept praying, and then it so happens that in another couple of days, the heart specialist came in, said, hey, we got to get you in the hospital because of the insurance. He was able to get in the hospital. And then they put a pump inside the heart, and then they decided that we need to get a transplant, but we don't have a heart. So we kept praying. God found a heart for him. Within a couple of days, I think it was like 4 days. So he didn't need the lung transplant. He did get the heart transplant. But not only did God give him a natural heart, but God gave him a spiritual heart. And then he now has recommitted his life to the Lord, has transformed himself, is on fire for God and on fire for the ministry. And so we're so excited about him, and that's just one of the many testimonies that God is doing in our church.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have a church that meets in a school. So at the school that we meet out on Sundays, we have this big sign, and there's a couple that would drive by this sign, lived in town there in Baser. Every Sunday they'd drive by it and would talk about, we should go to that church. We're not in church, but something about that church makes me want to visit it. They didn't go in for weeks, but finally mustered up the courage to walk in. They weren't invited. They didn't know anybody. and they had a baby on the way. So they're looking for a new start in life and something special. And so they walked in and immediately got connected to Village Community and have become so much a part of our family life there. Just one of those stories that you kind of pray for as a pastor, that someone would maybe just see us and find a way to get connected that may have no connection at all to us. Our mission is to help people take their next step toward Christ. That's what we're all about. And these folks have just jumped right in, all because of a presence there and a big sign out front.
Can I borrow the sign?
Oh, sign. Yeah.
I'll talk about Nate and Karina at our church. They're two young persons, which makes me sound old, but they're young persons. And it's been amazing to watch a few things. To watch the people of the church love them. And it's some of our oldest folks have just adopted them and loved them and invested in them, taken them out for meals and all those kinds of things. Just recently, Nate has, we prayed around with him at the altar, and he's had some tough things to leave behind and hasn't had an easy life, but every Sunday he brings his little, she's 9-10-month-old daughter in, and people just kind of swoop in and guys text him and check in on him and help him with his walk in the Lord. And it's just amazing to watch what the Lord's done in his life. And every Wednesday there's a group of retired guys eat donuts and talk about cars or whatever else. And there was Nate with them last week. And just these guys trying to give him wisdom and trying to come alongside him. But to watch everybody just adopt them, didn't care where they were from, didn't care what was going on, and accepted them and loved them and prayed for them and just spent a lot of time with them. It's been great to watch.